Welcome back to the channel. Today we delve into a haunting case that gripped Maryland in 2001. In February of that year, Hae Min Lee, a promising student at Woodlawn High School, vanished without a trace. Just days later, her lifeless body was discovered in a secluded wooded area. The cause of death was determined to be strangulation. A prime suspect emerged swiftly, leading to a conviction that resulted in a life sentence. Yet, 14 years later, a groundbreaking podcast ignited a firestorm of speculation, suggesting this individual may have been wrongfully convicted. The podcast captivated the nation, drawing immense public interest and raising critical questions about the integrity of the original verdict. Was there a chance that an innocent person had been condemned? The story of Hae Min Lee began in October 1980 in South Korea. At the age of 12, in 1994, she immigrated to the United States with her mother and younger brother. Her father remained behind in South Korea for reasons never fully explained. Settling in Woodlawn, Baltimore County, Maryland, Hae Min's maternal grandparents provided a new home for the family. Hae Min adapted to her new life seamlessly. She excelled in her studies and took on a part-time role as a teacher's assistant, arriving at school by 7 a.m. to aid teachers with grading and administrative tasks. At Woodlawn High School, she crossed paths with Adnan, a student who was well-liked and a member of the football team. While he may not have been the top of his class, his charm and storytelling abilities made him a favorite among peers and teachers alike. Although Adnan was born in America, his family hailed from Pakistan, practicing Islam. When prom season arrived, Adnan asked Hae Min to be his date. On that unforgettable night, she wore a stunning blue dress paired with silver sandals, while Adnan donned a classic tuxedo. The prom was a night filled with enchantment, featuring elections for prom prince and princess, where Adnan was crowned. As they danced the night away, the world around them faded, and they savored a dreamlike evening together. Following that magical night, they officially began their romance. Hae Min's diary revealed the depth of her feelings for Adnan, filled with joyful reflections on their time together. "How could I not love him? I'm so happy," she wrote. Adnan reciprocated her affection, often surprising her with roses during school hours. Despite their passionate connection, they were forced to keep their relationship hidden from their families. This secrecy meant they couldn't enjoy typical couple activities, often resorting to clandestine meetings in parked cars under the cover of night. Parking lots became their refuge, a place to escape the watchful eyes of their families. At times, they would whisper through Hae Min's bedroom window or concoct elaborate stories about sleeping over at friends' houses just to catch a fleeting moment together. Eventually, the truth about their relationship came to light, and both families confronted the reality of their romance. Hae Min's mother even suggested a meeting with Adnan's parents, though this discussion never came to fruition. After 5 months, Hae Min sensed that the initial spark was dimming. She began to feel weary of the constant secrecy. While other couples enjoyed the freedom to visit one another's homes and introduce each other to their families, Hae Min found herself trapped in a web of lies, forced to navigate a world of hidden dates and deception. Additionally, in a time when cell phones were a luxury, their communication relied solely on landline phones, a method that felt increasingly inadequate. Hae Min struggled with the secrecy of their romance, feeling as if she was losing her sense of self in the process. Moreover, living in a country that cherished freedom while hiding their relationship from her family was suffocating. The constant vigilance required to keep their love hidden only served to drain her spirit. Eventually, the weight of their concealed relationship became unbearable, leading Hae Min to contemplate ending things. The final straw came during the homecoming dance in October 1998. When Adnan's parents arrived at the school, having heard rumors about their son's new love interest. They were determined to see who was claiming their son's attention. Hae Min had yearned for freedom and love, but the intrusion of Adnan's parents into their lives was stifling. Being a Muslim family, they were deeply concerned about Adnan's behavior, amplifying Hae Min's feelings of entrapment. Hae Min had felt the pressure of their differing religious beliefs weighing heavily on her. The pain was palpable, and the following day she penned a heartfelt letter, severing their relationship. In that poignant message, she expressed her sorrow, stating, "I think we should stop here. It's okay if you hate me." Upon reading Hae Min's letter, Adnan scrawled a chilling note on it, declaring, "I'm going to kill," without specifying who would be the target. The threat loomed large, a troubling glimpse into his troubled mind. However, the separation proved to be short-lived. By November, Adnan and Hae Min had reconciled. In her journal, she confided, "I still have deep feelings for him," revealing the complexity of her emotions. Such cycles of breakups and reconciliations were not uncommon among teenagers, and their tumultuous relationship was no exception. Just a month after reuniting, Hae Min took a part-time job at an eyeglass store where she gradually became close to a man named Don. He was 4 years her senior and of a different race. In her journal, Hae Min admitted that although her feelings for Adnan lingered, her thoughts often drifted to Don, leaving her torn between two affections. Ultimately, Hae Min made the difficult choice to break up with Adnan once again. This time, however, she did so with the knowledge that she was leaving him for another man, a revelation that struck Adnan like a physical blow. The thought of being replaced by another man was a bitter pill for Adnan to swallow. Known for his controlling and jealous tendencies, he struggled to come to terms with the end of their relationship. Yet, despite the pain, their breakup was surprisingly amicable. There were no heated arguments or hurtful words exchanged. In fact, they managed to remain friends, exchanging Christmas gifts, and Hae Min even offered Adnan rides when he lacked transportation. Deep down, both of them were grappling with the complexities of love and loss. Adnan clung to the hope that he and Hae Min Lee might rekindle their romance, just as they had in the past. However, in January 2001, the landscape of their relationship shifted dramatically. Hae Min officially began dating Don, a co-worker from the eyeglass store where she worked. When the news reached Adnan, a tempest of emotions surged within him. Fury coursed through Adnan when he heard about Hae Min's new relationship. He confided in his best friend Jay, proclaiming, "Hey man, she's dating another guy. I swear I'm going to kill her." The breakup had left him reeling, struggling to accept the reality of the situation. During this tumultuous time, AOL Instant Messenger had become a popular means of communication, and it was there that Adnan found an outlet for his anger. In a moment that would echo hauntingly through the lives of those who knew her, Hae Min Lee updated her status with the words, "A new love has come." Adnan, her ex-boyfriend, discovered this post after secretly watching her, harboring a flicker of hope for reconciliation. However, the sight of that message plunged him into a dark, angry mood, igniting a turmoil within him. On January 13th, 2001, the day began like any other for Hae Min. She rushed out of school right after class, informing her friends, "I have to pick up my cousin, take her home, and then meet Don." Her excitement was palpable, but little did anyone know, this routine would soon shatter into chaos. Yet, by 3:10 p.m., Hae Min had still not arrived at her cousin's preschool. The teacher, who had come to expect Hae Min's punctuality, sensed something was amiss. Concerned, she reached out to Hae Min's home, only to have her younger brother answer the phone. As the minutes ticked by, anxiety tightened its grip on her brother. Hae Min's absence was completely out of character. He quickly began to contact all her friends, but no one had seen or heard from her. Meanwhile, her grandparents anxiously waited for her return, their instincts telling them that something was dreadfully wrong. Growing increasingly worried, her grandmother ventured into Hae Min's room, searching for clues. As she rifled through her belongings, she stumbled upon a freshly written phone number in Hae Min's journal. Assuming it might belong to her new boyfriend, her brother wasted no time dialing the number. The voice on the other end was that of Adnan. Adnan, her classmate and former boyfriend, informed Hae Min's brother, "She's not home yet. She was supposed to give me a ride after school today, but we never met up. I waited at school for a long time, but I figured she left without me. I'm already home now." His casual tone belied the gravity of the situation, igniting further concern. With no other options left, Hae Min's family reported her missing to the police. Authorities sprang into action, contacting everyone connected to her life, from friends to boyfriends, yet no leads emerged. The following day, January 14th, a massive snowstorm descended upon Woodlawn and the entire Baltimore County area. Roads became impassable, power lines fell, and trees blocked streets, forcing schools to close due to the perilous conditions. As this chaos unfolded, Hae Min's classmates remained largely unaware of her disappearance. Another day passed, bringing no progress in the search for her. January 15th arrived, marking Krista's birthday. Despite the snowstorm's grip on the community, Krista's birthday party proceeded as planned. That evening, Friends began to arrive at Krista's house, but one crucial person was conspicuously absent: Hae Min. Adnan and his friend Jay were also among the guests, yet the absence of Hae Min hung over the gathering like a dark cloud. Krista, the birthday girl, felt a pang of concern. Hae Min had promised to attend, and her absence was strange. The group had heard whispers about Hae Min's disappearance, but with so many people stranded by the storm, they had assumed she was merely one of them. However, when she failed to show up for the birthday celebration, their worry deepened. Hae Min would never forget her friend's special day. As soon as the missing person report was filed, police launched an extensive search for Hae Min. They scoured her school, the last place she was seen, her cousin's preschool, and the surrounding areas of her home. The desperate search illuminated the shadows of uncertainty hanging over Hae Min's fate. The community awaited answers, but the mystery deepened with every passing hour. The investigation had only just begun, and the stakes were impossibly high. The moment the missing person report was filed, law enforcement sprang into action, launching an extensive search for Hae Min. They meticulously combed through her school, the last place she had been seen, her cousin's preschool, and the neighborhood surrounding her home. The search for Hae Min Lee was a community effort, uniting not only the police and local residents, but also a significant turnout from the Korean-American community. Hae Min's mother was engulfed in despair, unable to eat or sleep. Then, on February 9, 2001, the grim reality would shatter the fragile hope they clung to. 27 agonizing days after Hae Min had vanished, her worst fears were confirmed. A man named Alonzo dialed 911, his voice trembling as he reported, "I think I just found a body. I'm at Leakin Park." Alonzo had been passing through Leakin Park in Woodlawn, a mere 6-minute drive from Hae Min's school. After consuming a few drinks, he felt an urgent need to relieve himself but struggled to find a suitable location. Driven by necessity, he pulled over at Leakin Park and ventured into a secluded area. As he pushed deeper into the thicket, an unsettling sight caught his eye: a human foot protruding from a pile of fallen leaves. Horrified, he immediately called the police. Tragically, the body was confirmed to be Hae Min Lee. In a chilling turn of events, a passerby decided to pull over at Leakin Park, seeking a moment of solitude in a secluded area. As he ventured deeper into the woods, his gaze fell upon a horrifying sight: a human foot protruding from a heap of fallen leaves. Panic surged through him as he dialed the police. The grim discovery was soon confirmed. The body belonged to Hae Min Lee. The girl who had ignited a desperate search across the community was now confirmed dead. Her family faced unimaginable devastation. During interviews, her mother found herself unable to articulate her sorrow, overwhelmed by grief, her cries echoing the anguish of a family torn apart. Friends of Hae Min shared in the shock, grappling with the loss of someone so vibrant. Many had clung to the fragile hope that Hae Min was still alive, waiting to return, but that flicker of optimism was extinguished. In a somber gathering, the school held a memorial service dedicated to Hae Min, where her family, classmates, and community members united to pay tribute and mourn her untimely passing. The autopsy report revealed the grim details of her death: manual strangulation. It appeared that the fatal attack had occurred inside Hae Min's own car. Signs of a struggle were evident. She had fought back, striking her head against the window before succumbing to the attack. Her body was found fully clothed, with no indications of sexual assault. Investigators estimated that Hae Min had been killed while en route to pick up her cousin, somewhere between 2:15 and 2:30 p.m. Yet, her Nissan Sentra remained missing. 3 days after her body was discovered, on February 12th, police received an anonymous tip that would change the course of the investigation. The caller, suspected to be a Korean man aged between 18 and 21, urged detectives to investigate Hae Min's ex-boyfriend. He simply stated, "Detectives, you need to investigate Hae Min's ex-boyfriend. His name is Adnan." This revelation prompted police to delve deeper into Adnan's relationship with Hae Min. Detectives quickly uncovered that Adnan and Hae Min had recently ended their relationship, with Adnan reportedly distraught over the breakup. As they scrutinized Adnan's inner circle, they discovered something that raised eyebrows. He had purchased a cell phone just before Hae Min went missing. This revelation set off alarm bells, prompting police to secure a court order for Adnan's call records. On February 28th, 1 month following the murder, investigators turned their attention to Jay. Jay, regarded as Adnan's closest friend at the time, was just 19 years old and had attended high school with Adnan. What he disclosed during his interrogation sent shockwaves through the investigation. Adnan killed Hae Min, and I helped him. In a chilling confession, Jay recounted the details of the morning when Hae Min Lee vanished. Adnan had reached out to him, and they arranged to meet to purchase a birthday gift for Stephanie, a girl Jay had feelings for. However, during their meeting, Jay sensed an unsettling anger radiating from Adnan, directed at Hae Min. Adnan's fury was palpable. He was enraged that Hae Min was seeing someone else. In a shocking declaration, he confided in Jay, stating, "I'm going to kill Hae Min." After this ominous conversation, Jay felt the weight of Adnan's words settle heavily in the air. Jay was infatuated with Hae Min, the girl at the center of this storm. As he continued to process Adnan's rage, it became clear that the tension had escalated to deadly levels. Adnan had articulated a dark intention, and Jay's mind raced with the implications of such a threat. After their conversation, Jay dropped Adnan off at school, retaining possession of Adnan's car. Inside that vehicle lay Adnan's brand-new cell phone, a prized possession that most would guard closely. Yet, Adnan had casually instructed Jay, "I'll call you on this phone later," as if the weight of the situation was of no concern. Parting ways, Jay spent the afternoon at a friend's house until a call from Adnan interrupted the quiet. Adnan requested they meet at the Best Buy parking lot, a familiar place where he and Hae Min had often shared moments during their relationship. Upon Jay's arrival, he found Adnan standing next to Hae Min's car. The atmosphere shifted as Adnan opened the trunk, revealing a horrifying sight. Hae Min's lifeless body, curled and still, a stark contrast to the vibrant life she once led. With desperation lacing his voice, Adnan implored Jay, "You have to help me. You're the only person I can turn to." In that moment, Jay faced a harrowing decision. Despite the gravity of the situation, he chose to assist Adnan, leaving many to wonder why he didn't contact the authorities immediately. Speculation arose that Jay's own illegal activities, including selling marijuana, may have played a role in his decision. Adnan's threat of exposure loomed in the background as they drove to Leakin Park, where Adnan began to dig a shallow grave for Hae Min. They buried Hae Min's body there, a grim act that would haunt both of them. Afterward, they transported her Nissan Sentra to a remote, abandoned lot, leaving it behind like a discarded secret. Then, they climbed into Adnan's car, blending back into the fabric of their lives as they met up with other friends. This sequence of events, as recounted by Jay, would lead to Adnan's arrest for first-degree murder. When police arrived at the location Jay had specified, they found Hae Min's car precisely where he said it would be, a detail that added a chilling credibility to his story. Investigators had spent weeks searching for the vehicle with no success, yet Jay had known its location all along. This revelation sent shockwaves through the community when Adnan was taken into custody. Family and friends were left in disbelief at the unfolding tragedy. At school, the news of Hae Min's death had already devastated students, but the accusation against Adnan felt surreal. While he occasionally indulged in alcohol and marijuana, the idea that he could be a murderer shattered the image they had of him. Just 2 days after Hae Min's disappearance, Adnan appeared at Krista's birthday party, engaging in laughter and dancing, seemingly unaffected by the chaos that had erupted. Could someone capable of such a heinous act truly mask their guilt so effortlessly? The haunting question lingered in the air. The atmosphere was tense and charged with uncertainty. Following his arrest, Adnan's statement starkly contradicted that of his friend Jay. He openly admitted to lending Jay his car on that fateful day, and recounted how he had asked Hae Min Lee for a ride after school, a routine exchange between the two that was not uncommon. However, as the sun dipped below the horizon after track practice, Hae was nowhere to be found. Adnan waited, growing increasingly anxious, and when it became clear she wouldn't show, he simply called Jay to retrieve his car. The question lingered ominously in the air. Whose account was the truth? The police recognized that to unravel this mystery, they needed more than mere testimony. They required physical evidence. One crucial lead lay in Adnan's cell phone records. Investigators meticulously requested data from his carrier and began cross-referencing it with the timeline Jay had provided. While the locations and timestamps did not always match up seamlessly, The overlaps were significant enough to raise suspicions. On the day of the murder, Jay had met with two acquaintances, both of whom later corroborated his version of events. These acquaintances, Jennifer and Christy, were intertwined in Jay's world of marijuana sales. Notably, neither of them had a personal connection to Adnan or Hae Min. Their friendship was solely with Jay. Jennifer recalled that on the day of the murder, Jay had come over to her house post-lunch. They spent time immersed in video games until Jay abruptly received a phone call. He promised to return shortly but never did. As the clock struck 8 p.m., Jennifer's phone rang. It was Jay, asking her to pick him up at Westview Mall. Westview Mall was merely a 6-minute drive from Leakin Park, the grim location where Hae Min's body had been discovered. When Jennifer arrived, she spotted both Jay and Adnan waiting in the parking lot. Once in the car, Jay's demeanor shifted dramatically. He turned to Jennifer and declared, "Adnan strangled Hae Min. We dug a hole and buried her, and I still have the shovel. We need to get rid of it." In a frantic rush, Jennifer drove them to the dumpster area behind Westview Mall, where Jay claimed he discarded the shovel. However, it's important to note that Jennifer did not see him actually dispose of it. When later questioned by police about her delayed reporting, she candidly confessed, "I was selling weed at the time. I didn't want to get involved with the cops. Looking back, I regret it." Christy, Jay's other friend, also took the stand. Like Jennifer, she had never met Adnan or Hae Min before. Around 6 p.m. on the day of the murder, Jay and Adnan unexpectedly arrived at her home, leaving her puzzled as to their purpose. What stood out to Christy was that this was her first encounter with Adnan. Typically, introductions are a social norm, yet Adnan remained silent, an unusual choice in such a situation. Christy found his unusual behavior striking. At one point, Adnan received a phone call, during which he expressed his anxiety in words Christy would later recall vividly. "What am I supposed to do? What should I say? They're going to come ask me questions." Moments later, Adnan and Jay left her house, their departure shrouded in mystery. What stuck with Christy was that this was her first encounter with Adnan. In situations like these, introductions are common, yet Adnan remained eerily silent. Christy found his demeanor peculiar. Later, Adnan received a phone call, during which he uttered words that Christy would never forget. "What am I supposed to do? What should I say? They're going to come ask me questions." Shortly after, Adnan and Jay departed from Christy's house, leaving an unsettling air behind them. According to the timeline of events, the meeting with Jennifer at Westview Mall occurred after a series of troubling developments. At this stage, 3 independent witnesses, Jay, Jennifer, and Christy, had come forward, each providing statements that implicated Adnan. Their testimonies coincided with Adnan's cell phone records, detailing specific times and locations. Despite this mounting evidence, Adnan resolutely denied any involvement in the crime. Adnan's attorney raised a powerful defense, suggesting that the police may have coerced Jay into fabricating a story, aiming to hastily close the case. The lawyer firmly contended that Adnan had no connection to the crime, highlighting how the witness statements had evolved and shifted over time. The defense pointed out the discrepancies that emerged in the witnesses' testimonies. Initially, when they provided their accounts, the details were consistent, but during later interrogations by the police, subtle changes began to appear. This inconsistency led Adnan's attorney to argue that their statements were fundamentally unreliable. As the investigation progressed, it became evident that the witnesses' accounts had indeed shifted since their initial testimonies. Adnan's attorney pressed the point that these inconsistencies undermined the credibility of their statements. Moreover, a significant issue loomed over the prosecution's case. There was no substantial physical evidence linking Adnan to the crime scene. Despite a thorough search of his residence, investigators found no traces of Hae Min Lee's blood on his clothing or footwear. Additionally, no forensic evidence placed him at Leakin Park. The most critical oversight by law enforcement became apparent as the case unfolded. They had neglected to conduct DNA testing on Hae Min Lee's body and personal belongings. Had Adnan's DNA been discovered, it could have served as a pivotal piece of evidence. However, inexplicably, no DNA tests were performed. This glaring absence of DNA evidence ultimately became a significant flaw in the prosecution's case, one that had the potential to alter the trial's outcome. Nevertheless, the prosecution pressed on, advancing first-degree murder charges against Adnan, primarily relying on the testimonies of the 3 witnesses. In addition to cell phone records, Adnan adamantly maintained his innocence and sought to substantiate his claims. He recalled a particular incident. 2 days after Heymin's disappearance, he attended a birthday party along with Jay and Stephanie, a girl who had caught Jay's interest. As the party drew to a close, Stephanie offered Adnan a ride home, inviting him with, "Come with me, I'll give you a ride." With that, Adnan, Jay, and Stephanie climbed into her vehicle. Jay was dropped off first, as his home was nearby, leaving just Adnan and Stephanie in the car. Adnan seized this moment to present a counter-argument to the detectives, questioning, "Let's think logically. If I were a murderer, would anyone in their right mind leave the girl they liked alone in a car with a killer?" The trial was a battleground of intense emotions and gripping revelations, lasting 6 arduous weeks and commencing in January 2000. A previous trial had already been held, but it ended in a mistrial due to an inappropriate discussion between Adnan's lawyer and the judge regarding details about Heymin Lee's car that were meant to be kept from the jury. The defense's objection to this critical error led to the first trial being dismissed, resulting in a fresh start for the second trial, where the stakes were higher and the scrutiny sharper than ever. On February 25, 2000, in a tense courtroom atmosphere, the jury reached a verdict that would change lives forever. Adnan was found guilty of first-degree murder, kidnapping, and robbery. The weight of the decision was palpable, as he received a life sentence plus an additional 30 years, sealing his fate behind bars. In the aftermath, Adnan's family was filled with despair. They promptly dismissed his lawyer and sought new representation to file an appeal. However, their hopes were dashed when the appeal was denied. Meanwhile, Jay, whose testimony had been pivotal in securing Adnan's conviction, faced his own reckoning as he was called to trial for his involvement. In a surprising moment during the court proceedings, Jay expressed heartfelt remorse to Heymin Lee's family, acknowledging the pain his testimony had caused. The judge recognized that Jay's words had played a crucial role in achieving what was deemed a fair resolution. Ultimately, Jay was sentenced to 5 years in prison, followed by 2 years of probation. While Heymin Lee's family took solace in the verdict, Adnan's family remained steadfast in their belief that an injustice had occurred. They were convinced that the true murderer was still at large. Their suspicions centered on 3 potential suspects, with the first being Jay himself. Adnan's family pointed to the astonishing detail in Jay's testimony regarding the location of Heymin Lee's abandoned car. If Jay had no involvement, they questioned, how could he possibly know where it was? There were whispers that Jay might have been the true perpetrator, who then moved the vehicle in a calculated attempt to frame Adnan. Adding to the skepticism surrounding Jay was his extensive criminal history. He had been arrested over 20 times for a range of offenses, including second-degree assault, which involved incidents of domestic violence. His rap sheet was alarming, including charges of second-degree assault on a police officer, resisting arrest, possession of a loaded handgun, and theft. Given this troubling background, many in the community viewed him with suspicion. The second suspect identified was Mr. Alonzo, the man who discovered Heymin Lee's lifeless body. During the autopsy, forensic experts uncovered 2 distinct diamond-shaped indentations near Heymin Lee's collarbone. Despite the decomposition that had altered the rest of her body, these marks remained conspicuously lighter in color. Adnan's defense team proposed a theory that perhaps a concrete grinder, a tool commonly used in construction, had caused these injuries. Mr. Alonzo had a background in concrete construction, which only deepened the intrigue. However, subsequent forensic analysis suggested an alternative explanation. The marks might have been made by tire treads. Adding to the mystery was the dense, secluded terrain of Leakin Park, leading many to question how Alonzo had managed to stumble upon the body so far into the woods. The third suspect was Don, Heymin Lee's other boyfriend, who worked at LensCrafters. While Don had an alibi, reportedly being at work during the time of the estimated murder, speculation arose due to the fact that the store manager on duty was none other than his own mother. Could this alibi have been fabricated to protect him? Adnan's family, determined to exonerate him, spared no effort in their quest for justice. They enlisted private investigators, legal experts, and forensic specialists, all in an attempt to uncover inconsistencies in the case against him. Their relentless pursuit revealed several critical flaws in the investigation. The most glaring issue was the lack of DNA testing, a glaring omission in a case built on circumstantial evidence. As the investigation unfolded, a set of unidentified fingerprints was discovered, raising further questions. The pursuit of truth was just beginning, and with each revelation, the shadow of doubt loomed larger over the conviction of Adnan. A dedicated team of lawyers and experts embarked on a relentless pursuit to uncover inconsistencies within the case. Their investigation revealed critical flaws that had previously gone unnoticed. Chief among these was the glaring absence of DNA testing. A haunting set of unidentified fingerprints lingered on the rearview mirror of Hae Min Lee's car, a potential clue that could have belonged to the last person who drove it. Yet the police failed to identify whose prints they were. Compounding the issue were Adnan's cell phone records. These records, obtained via fax from the phone company, included a cover note asserting that outgoing calls accurately reflected the cell tower location. However, it cautioned that incoming calls might not always provide reliable data for tracking locations. The prosecution's case against Adnan hinged on these call logs, particularly the incoming calls. If the location data for these calls was indeed unreliable, it seriously undermined the timeline the prosecution built against him. Despite their fervent efforts, the most damning evidence against Adnan rested upon the call logs, particularly the incoming calls. If the location data tied to these calls proved unreliable, it would cast a shadow over the prosecution's timeline. Despite relentless efforts, Adnan's family faced an uphill battle in their quest to overturn the verdict. Convicted already, the prospect of reversing the decision seemed nearly impossible. By May 2010, a decade had passed since Adnan's conviction, yet his family continued to fight for an appeal. They had navigated nearly every legal pathway in their pursuit to rectify the case. Around this time, they introduced a new claim. During the original trial, Adnan's attorney had neglected to call upon a crucial witness. In the crucial moments when Hae Min was believed to still be alive, Adnan was allegedly conversing with a female student in the school library. This student, Asia, was a fellow pupil at Woodlawn High School and a close friend of Hae Min, though her relationship with Adnan was not particularly close. When Hae Min was murdered and Adnan found himself ensnared in the investigation, Asia suddenly recalled the last time she had seen him on January 13th. This memory stood out as students carried agenda books, a planner where they meticulously documented their schedules and school events. In a pivotal moment, the school planner revealed that classes were suspended for 2 days following Hae Min Lee's disappearance. This detail ignited a memory for a key witness who recalled seeing Adnan on the day prior to the school closure, the very day Hae Min vanished. This detail proved to be significant, as Asia claimed she spotted Adnan in the library around 2:15 p.m., just after school let out. This time frame aligned with the authorities' estimation of when Hae Min was murdered, potentially offering a critical alibi for Adnan. During the investigation, Asia reflected on the gravity of her memories. She thought, "If Adnan is truly innocent, perhaps my recollection and testimony can assist him." Motivated by this belief, she reached out to Adnan's family and sent him a letter while he was behind bars. Prior to his trial, she penned a heartfelt letter to Adnan, expressing her recollection of the incident. In her words, she offered assistance, stating, "If you need help, I can meet with your lawyer. I hope you can look me in the eyes and tell me the truth." However, Adnan's lawyer, at the time, displayed a troubling indifference to vital information. Following Adnan's conviction, while desperately seeking grounds for an appeal, his defense team suddenly recalled a crucial detail. Wait! In a pivotal turn of events, Adnan's new attorney submitted a letter from Asia, claiming an alibi that could potentially exonerate him. However, a perplexing question lingered. Why had such a crucial alibi not been presented during the initial trial? Even if Adnan's original lawyer faltered during the police interrogation, when officers pressed him for details about that fateful day, Adnan had mentioned attending school and track practice. Yet, he failed to mention his encounter with Asia, the very witness who could have changed the course of his trial. Despite the retrial request being filed, Asia felt an immense pressure to testify in a case that had garnered national attention. The weight of the high-profile hearing proved overwhelming, and ultimately, she chose not to take the stand. In January 2016, the court dismissed Adnan's appeal, closing another chapter in this tragic saga. The ruling asserted that the situation did not stem from attorney misconduct, but rather from a strategic choice made by Adnan's defense to sidestep the presentation of an alibi. It seemed as though the case had reached its finality until October 2016, when Hae Min's story unexpectedly captured the attention of the nation once more. In 2016, podcasts were still an emerging format, yet Serial took the world by storm, dominating iTunes charts and amassing over 68 million downloads. Today, Serial is heralded as one of the most successful podcasts ever, and at that time, it reigned as the most popular podcast globally. The host of the show brought Hae Min's case into the spotlight, delving into the intricate details and questioning whether Adnan could truly be guilty. This exploration capitalized on the public's enduring fascination with conspiracy theories surrounding law enforcement. Serial harnessed that intrigue, proposing the unsettling notion that Adnan might not have been the true killer. As skepticism toward the Baltimore police intensified, so did the speculation regarding Adnan's potential wrongful conviction. The lingering question remained: was he innocent? Social media platforms like Facebook and Reddit erupted with discussions surrounding Hae Min's case. For her family, this resurgence of attention must have been a painful reminder. They had witnessed the entire legal process and believed the verdict delivered justice. They had thought justice had been served. Yet for over a decade, Adnan had relentlessly pursued appeals. Now, with Serial thrusting the case back into the limelight, public perception began to shift away from Hae Min as the victim. Instead, the narrative morphed into one of whether Adnan had been wrongfully convicted. The focus shifted, diminishing the tragic loss of a young woman into a mystery awaiting resolution. During this time, the Korean-American community in Baltimore kept a watchful eye on the unfolding events. With each major court hearing, members of the Korean-American community rallied together, traveling by bus to the courthouse, demanding a fair trial for Adnan. Many of these individuals had been actively combating the discrimination and inequality faced by their community. United in their cause, they stood firm in their quest for justice. When Hae Min's tragedy first emerged, the community was shattered, rallying around her grieving family. Initially, they welcomed Adnan's conviction, but as he continued to appeal, their support began to waver. As the Serial podcast cast doubt on Adnan's guilt, questions loomed over how much longer Hae Min Lee's family would endure their heart-wrenching agony. In 2015, spurred by the podcast's revelations, Adnan sought a retrial. The podcast had thrust him into the public eye, igniting renewed interest in his case. The judge consented to a hearing, initially set for 2 days, but extended to 5, highlighting the necessity for thorough discussion and examination. This time, Asia, the woman who claimed she had been with Adnan in the library during the crucial hours of Hae Min's murder, took the stand for the first time on June 30, 2016. Judge Welsh made a pivotal decision to overturn Adnan's conviction, asserting that Adnan's previous attorney had failed to provide him with an adequate defense. This was a monumental triumph for Adnan. After 17 long years, his conviction had been vacated. However, the path to freedom remained obstructed. The prosecution swiftly appealed. In March 2020, the case ascended to the Maryland Court of Special Appeals. Asia continued to be a vital witness, and the court ultimately ruled in Adnan's favor, recognizing the inadequacies of his earlier legal representation. Yet, the prosecution escalated the matter to the Maryland Supreme Court, which issued a surprising verdict. They sided with the prosecution, declaring that even with Asia's testimony during the original trial, the verdict would not have altered. Adnan's original life sentence was reaffirmed as a just conviction. The prospect of a new trial was extinguished. Adnan's family was left to pick up the pieces of their shattered lives. Meanwhile, the investigation unveiled several significant police blunders. The most glaring error was the absence of DNA testing. No forensic analysis was carried out on Hae Min Lee's belongings, vehicle, clothing, or even her remains. Alarmingly, Hae's broken fingernails hinted at a fierce struggle against her assailant. The DNA of the perpetrator could have been present, but it was never analyzed. In March 2024, Adnan's attorney petitioned for a new DNA investigation, noting that Hae's evidence remained preserved. They proposed retesting it with cutting-edge forensic technology. 6 months later, in September 2024, the unexpected unfolded. The prosecution voluntarily requested the court to overturn Adnan's conviction. During a press conference, the Baltimore County State's attorney revealed DNA testing conducted on Hae's shoes revealed genetic material from 4 different individuals, yet none belonged to Adnan. Furthermore, they acknowledged a serious breach of the Brady disclosure rule, which mandates that prosecutors disclose all evidence and witnesses to the defense. This law is designed to prevent authorities from concealing evidence that may benefit the defendant, ensuring transparency in investigations. Prosecutors confessed to their failure to comply. Crucially, significant evidence that had been withheld from Adnan's case pointed to two other potential suspects, one of whom had previously issued threats against Hay and possessed a compelling motive. Even more disturbingly, in a shocking twist, it was revealed that the suspect lived mere steps away from where Hae Min Lee's car was discovered. Prosecutors, grappling with the implications of unreliable cell phone data and key witness testimonies, ultimately acknowledged these discrepancies. As a result, Adnan's conviction was overturned. The question loomed large: who bore the responsibility for this grave error? Authorities pointed to the limitations of DNA testing technology at the time, asserting that only with today's advanced forensic capabilities could they now uncover the truth. On September 19, 2024, Adnan's conviction was vacated, leading to his release on that very day. At 41 years old, he had spent an agonizing 23 years behind bars. Importantly, this did not equate to a declaration of innocence. His conviction had simply been overturned. As the ruling was announced, Adnan's family erupted in celebration, embracing one another in a moment of pure joy. But what of Hae Min Lee's family? This was a case steeped in time. Adnan had sought to appeal multiple times, only for the Maryland Supreme Court to uphold his conviction. Then, in a sudden reversal, prosecutors changed their stance. Throughout this tumultuous process, Baltimore's prosecutors neglected to adequately inform Hae Min's family, failing to follow established legal protocols, typically in such significant matters. The victim's family is granted the opportunity to attend the hearing and voice their concerns. Yet Hay's brother, Young, received notice only 3 days prior to the hearing. To make matters worse, the notification arrived on a Friday, with the hearing set for Monday. This left Young's family with no time to prepare, as legal offices were shuttered for the weekend. At that moment, Young was in California. He requested a 1-week delay to travel to Baltimore, a plea that went unheeded. The court instead offered him the option to attend the hearing via Zoom. Ultimately, Young could not be present in person and was forced to deliver his family's statement through a video link. Feeling that their rights had been trampled upon, he and his lawyer sought to appeal the court's decision. In 2023, a court ruling of 2-1 determined that the prosecution had indeed failed to adhere to proper legal procedures, violating the family's right to dignity and respect. Consequently, they mandated a new hearing, one that followed the appropriate legal process. But what did this mean for Adnan's guilt? Adnan's legal team quickly filed their own appeal, but the court sided with Hae Min Lee's family, denying their request. Adnan then turned once more to the Maryland Supreme Court, leaving the final verdict in limbo. So the pressing question remained: who truly was the killer? We invite you to share your thoughts in the comments below. Thank you for watching, and we hope to see you in the next video.